Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at the buffed split. As promised, this game is incredible. One of my best games in Destroyer. There's going to be mistakes still, don't you worry. But instead of going over more specifics and discussing this buff like I did in the Katsonis video, we already covered that. Let me talk to you a little bit more about my playmaking and decision making throughout this game. So starting off, we have a tier 10 game with Carrier, which means we're going to play a little more passive. Our team has mostly tier 8s over here on this flank, so we gotta be a little bit careful. Z46 has a Hydro as well. So that's why I was turned away initially, getting ready to reverse towards the Cav. That's always going to be a little bit safer way to start things off. But now that we have this island cover, we've seen a little bit more of who is here. I'm willing to push up a little bit more, possibly catch this Z46 with a radar. Although, really, I'm just looking for a position to isolate a fight. I don't want to deal with enemy incoming fire or be spotted here. This is a really nice spot to go undetected. The buff on the split, for example, here is 3.6 seconds down to 3.4 seconds on its main gun reload. Same torque buff, 68 down to 60 seconds. It's a really nice buff, and split has the much more comfortable turret angles. There's no awkwardness here. It's a very standard feeling destroyer with very, very strong DPM. It's like third best at its tier. Very powerful ship. We're within hydro range of the Z46 though. I got a little bit too close, so we're just going to turn away. And I want to stall this cap, but I don't want to lose too much health doing it. We don't have a heal here. We're also very, very bottom tier. Notice the carrier coming in with his planes. It's time to smoke. Okay, they're ready for me. They've already been shooting at me. The secondaries are here. It's time to smoke. Let's not greed it out. I'm not even in the cap right now. Let's just make sure we preserve some HP. I can farm the Bismarck a little bit, although, again, wanting to avoid blind drops. So I'm waiting until he's too close to me to actually get any sort of strike going on us. And then we get blind fired by the Z46 instantly. It's tough out here for destroyers. But he's out of smoke. Notice that. I waited for him to be out of a smoke. I generally knew which direction he was facing. We take an opportune radar, but I push out of my smoke because my radar only lasts 10 seconds, and I want to keep him spotted. And we want to take this guy out. Our teammates are here. They're close enough. They're seemingly firing on this guy. So that's the reasoning there. I used that smoke. It's a bit of a wasted smoke now, right? I don't have much time to farm out of it. But killing this Z46 is going to open up this entire flank for my team. My teammates are all very close as well, so not a lot of risk here, and we don't really take that much damage at all. And now that we've done that, well, we're pretty free to farm out this Yarsfeld, as well as potentially this Bismarck. The guns are very powerful here. You still get those 140s, really good alpha damage, really nice shell velocity. It's quite easy to lead these guns, so not too worried. You're going to constantly see me zooming in and zooming out. Maybe it's annoying on video, I do apologize. But while playing, this provides you with a ton of situational awareness. You notice it says free look next to my crosshair whenever I'm doing that. Free look is on your right mouse button. And so what I'm essentially doing is holding down left mouse button to constantly be firing, and then right mouse button to give myself a bit more perspective on the battle. I do this a lot in a lot of ships, but especially in gunboat DDs, to get myself just a little more awareness of who's firing at me, who's popping up on the minimap, and hopefully helping me dodge incoming salvos. Now that this Yarsfeld is behind the island, let's just farm this Bismarck. We do want to get this cap. Unfortunately, we do lose a few ships here, including our Amagi. So we need to get this cap, as more than likely we're not going to win too hard on the other flank, as they're already starting to kite there. We need to clear out this flank and go help them. Now that we've got that destroyer killed, the Archfell goes down. It's really just a Georgia here, right? As far as incoming ships to help this flank. So we should be winning this. We have a Colombo here as well, Kansas. We should be winning this and then trying to go help our team as quickly as possible. That's what's going through my head here. So I want to help farm out this Bismarck a bit. Depends on if he goes fully for the kite back to the back of the map, then I would just turn away. But if he's trying to come kill our Castilla or help out his Georgia, which the Georgia is pushing right now, then I want to help out farming down this Bismarck. Our guns are quite powerful here, and we may as well do this while we're still getting this cap zone. No need to smoke up just yet. We're outside of secondary range comfortably. We're relatively small target, and Bismarck doesn't have the best accuracy, so I'm not too worried about open watering him here. He appears to be turning in, actually. So very good that we're still farming this guy down. And Colombo brawling it out with a Georgia right now. Notice that Georgia is still pushing. And this is maybe one of my mistakes. Definitely is a mistake that I could have done better in this game. Still in a great game. Still very happy with how I played. But here, I probably should start focusing on the Georgia. The Bismarck just isn't a threat. I'm thinking, okay, my teammates kill the Georgia. I get a little bit of a head start on farming this Bismarck, especially with the fires, right? We can get some perma fires, hopefully. There we go. There's two. Got both his superstructure and the stern, actually. The unfortunate aim, or perhaps aim assist, pulling my shells towards the back of his ship. But now he damage controls, and now I'm just greedy for fires here. I should be helping on this Georgia. I'm hoping that my teammates have it covered. Reversing behind this smoke to get me undetected, ideally. And Georgia versus Colombo. What's happening over there? They actually ram, and that's why it was a mistake. We lose a Colombo. So that makes this game much, much harder. We do have 2 caps, though, and this Bismarck should hopefully go down. But still, something I could have done a little bit better. But it is time that we start looking towards the map. As always, the enemy team is going to win the C flank, right? We knew that was coming, but it's really important to have situational map awareness in these things. Even with a tier 8 destroyer, there's a lot of good work you can do. Obviously, the farming here, it's good at farming. These gunboat DDs are very powerful, right? We have very, very good DPM here, very usable arcs, and we finish taking down that Bismarck with our teammates. Notice I didn't smoke up even once I was in secondary range. That's really important that you realize secondaries take a while to charge up their accuracy. Bismarck in particular doesn't have the best accuracy. It's not like the battle cruiser line, right? It's got worse accuracy than that, although buffed over more basic battleship lines. Still, not much to worry about until it gets full accuracy charged. And even then, you can drift around secondaries. The aim assist in this game doesn't just affect player shots, it also affects secondaries. Remember that for a little bit later in this game. Dealing with the bungo now, we've come back to the B cap. A cap is easily secured. We're looking to finish off low health targets as well as reset enemy ships. Bungo here is really the only one in range, so of course that's who we're starting with farming. We have a hull on our team as well as, well, carriers, so we want to make use of their spotting for us. This is where we can smoke up. Bungo eats a double fire here, so hoping to paint a few more on his ship. He doesn't have fire prevention. But he goes behind the island. Smart play there to limit the firing angles that Bungo would be eating, and makes it so I can't farm him anymore. Unfortunate, but good play on that Bungo's part. The Pozarski here is low, and we need to finish him off. In these really close games, it is very important to focus down low health targets. And in this case, aim, I'm doing a poor job, or the shells are just getting pulled all over the place. It feels like that sometimes, where the ship turns even just a little bit, especially at low speeds, and my shells just go off the screen. It is so weird. Lots of fires already. Notice we're already on 12 fires in this game. Fire chance really blessing us here. When you have good games like this, there is a little bit of luck involved. A lot of skill too, but some dice rolls have to go your way. Pozarski very low. Notice we're doing a lot of shatters into him. Yes, we have good damage, but we don't full pen cruisers in their belts, upper belts, or their deck armor. We have to hit superstructures. So much like battleships, we do have to hit that specific point on the ship, and it is much smaller on cruisers. So much easier to farm battleships, as always. Schlieffen, though, pushing. Notice my positioning here. I'm intentionally making sure that Schlieffen does not have an angle on me with those secondaries. And given how aggressive he is positioning, we can't afford to just reverse here. Even with the carrier coming and spawning us, I'm not really worried about NC salvos. Not really, especially on this HB. It's more about that Schlieffen and the Hoffman, actually, pushing our spawn in this case. So we're going to push forward, turn into the cap, avoid the Schlieffen secondaries, get some torpedoes off on them. Nice thing on split here, we do have both sets of torps off either side compared to Katsonis. Again, check that video out if you want to know more about the Katsonis buff, which is very good as well. Both these ships are incredible now. Good line to grind for. I figured Schlieffen was going to turn to avoid some kind of incoming fire or the torpedo bombers, so that's why I didn't torp the gray line. Fortunately, our team does manage to finish him off. And now we got a bit of a wait before we get into another engagement. So I'm going to speed it up, but I do want to show this to you as it's a bit of a different video where I go over some of the thought process here. Arkansas is probably going to die. We need to hold on to these caps to win this game. So what's the biggest threat to that? bungo. Let's go try and finish off this bungo. We need to get an angle on him. I also don't want to fight a Hoffman at close range or really even in open water. Hoffman is incredibly powerful. So I'm looking for an angle on this bungo. Our carrier, though, is probably going to finish him off. Now, the enemy team is going to go after our carrier. So I know the Hoffman is probably either on his way to B or chasing down our carrier. And I really don't want to get into a fair fight with a Hoffman. So how do we make that fight as unfair as possible? You get close to an island, specifically one where you can push so that you're having a good time around this island. You need to push in such a way that the enemy can't actually hit you. And by what I mean by that, you'll see in a second here. The Hoffman won't be able to fire his guns at me around this island. He has to lead my ship. But if he has to lead my ship, what if that's an island in his way? Where him pushing around the island makes it very simple for me to lead him. Okay, we spot him. I reversed out of my smoke intentionally. Didn't want to get surprised. I only smoked to deal with the carrier spotting briefly. Hoffman has a hydro. I popped my radar for the brief spotting here. And look it, we're able to get in good damage, and most of that was actually Hoffman arcs being a little better than ours there. But still, good damage, good trade so far. We don't want to take fair fights when we're a poor tier 8 into a tier 10 game. Carrier spotting coming in. We find the midway. Oh, yes. We get to maybe have sweet justice against this carrier. Hoffman smokes to deal with our carrier spotting. Notice? But he has a hydro to spot us, so I need to get away from him. As well as hopefully find another sharp corner to, again, prevent him from being able to lead my ship. That's the whole goal here. Around these islands, we can force engagements where he just physically can't even hit our ship while I'm able to hit his. That's my only hope here. Hoffman pushing aggressively now. I'm a little bit late to realize. We also want to speed up to dodge the incoming airplanes. And here, well, this is just about Hoffman being on lower HP than us. Some of the trades that my teammates made earlier helped me out a ton here. But notice he didn't really hit me that much getting around this island, and I'm still able to get some salvos in and finish him off. Yes, we beat the Hoffman, barely. But that's where, even as a battleship player, cruisers, early game, even if you're not going to finish off a destroyer or kill a destroyer, some of that damage can be the difference between a victory or a loss in the late game when your teammates can capitalize on it. Even your lower tier teammates can finish off more powerful ships if they're low enough. Now, we have to worry about NC cross maps here, but we have to survive 37 seconds. So I probably could have afforded to not rush this carrier. I was worried, though, our carrier was going to go down, and I needed to get a kill then to finish off this game. That was the worry here. But remember how I said drifting can sometimes avoid secondary hits? Notice how he's not hitting me much with his secondaries? That's how I'm surviving here so long. We barely get our torps off, and now we take the big hits because we're not drifting anymore. Don't quite finish him, but our guns do. And in fact, they did kill our carrier. So if I had run, I would have had to survive a lot longer than if I had just taken him out. A risky play, perhaps not the correct one, but we win. 212,000 damage from a tier 8 DD into tier 10 matchmaker against carriers. We dealt with carrier spotting and over 3k base XP. No one even had 2k in this game, guys. Absolutely incredible. Awesome game. Really, really fun. And obviously, we'd rather not fight carriers. Let's be honest here. But very, very happy with the result in that one. Split is absolutely incredible. I love getting games like that where I can... Maybe I should do that more. Comment down below. Should I do that more? I have a few more examples of Split in particular as far as the buff and the playstyle here. But should I do that more where I explain in detail the thought process rather than just discussing the ship in the meta and whether it's strong or not? Let me know. I can do more videos like that. That was kind of fun. I enjoyed that. So let me know. I'll probably try to do that. Only with good games, though. Ones where my decisions actually matter. There's games where your decision doesn't really matter much. So then I'm just going to talk about the ship. But when my decision making matters and actually impacts the result of a game, maybe I'll start to do that. I think that's a good concept. Let me know. Early game, though, as always with these gunboat destroyers, it's so helpful to have a friendly torp boat or really well concealed boat to help spot things for you. In this case, we had the radar to get the initial spotting, but right now it's our Kagero that is spotting for us and allowing us to take out this enemy destroyer. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be trade, but it's still worth stating that these gunboat DDs are excellent backup for your torp boats. If you have a friendly torp boat on your team, definitely go back them up. Don't just run away from them. Don't just go farm battleships. You're incredibly powerful in those situations as the help. That's maybe the overpowered thing about this line, though, is you don't necessarily need that. You have the radar to go spot those destroyers. Maybe not kill them, right? It's a short duration radar, but you get the information, and that's why these things are so strong. As for our DPM, it's strong, but as you can see at close range, Akazuki is much, much better. At mid to longer ranges, our shell velocity will help us out a ton, and probably will out-trade an Akazuki at maybe 8 or 9 kilometers plus. But at closer ranges, we get outdone. And that's worth noting here. These ships aren't just the full in-your-face win every gun engagement. You still have to be careful. And certainly, when you don't have a radar, it can be a little awkward to run the full gun build and not have concealment. There's a Schlieffen with secondaries. He's not going to hit us for a little bit. Maybe he will just from the sheer volume of fire. But he has to charge up that secondary accuracy, right? So it's going to take him a little bit. Akazuki pushing us smart. But our teammates got our back. Yes, team support. You love to see it. And Split is awesome, by the way. This buff here, not as extreme as Ketsonis, but I don't think Split needed as much of a buff. In fact, I found this ship incredibly powerful to begin with. So maybe it's just getting buffed because it's not very popular. As I said in the Ketsonis video, I don't really see these things all that often, these gunboat European DDs. So perhaps that's why we're seeing all these buffs. I'm not sure, but I'll take it. These things are awesome now. Insane amount of fires again on this Schlieffen. The fire output is extreme here. Alpha damage is great, but you get so many fires. Just the fire chance is so high. And maybe that's also down to the incredible shell velocity and the ease at which you can hit targets. Notice that we're able to use these islands as well to get really comfortable damage in, even on a Schlieffen at close range. Positioning is always going to be king in this game, especially with these destroyers. You're going to win or lose a lot of engagements down to positioning and how you play around islands in particular. First game at the end there against that Hoffman, a really good example of that, but also there. It's really, really important. You're keeping an eye out for the map, where enemies are going, or where you can just eke out an advantage. Even against higher tier ships, you can still do well, even though it's very difficult. And we'd all much rather just face our own tier, let's be honest. While playing Split and Ketsonis, most of my games, I think all of them but one, were actually double up tiers, or at least one up tier with the Ketsonis. It was rough. It is rough in those up tiers. These ships can still do good against it, which is maybe a testament of the power level of these things, but I want to find my own tier more. Wargaming, could we please? +1, -1? That'll never happen, man. Feels bad. And as for the build on this thing, I am still getting greedy for the gun build. Just like with Ketsonis, these things are incredibly powerful when fully built for their guns. If you can survive, that is the problem, right? I had a tough time in that last clip, of course, when we run out of those radars. Yeah, the DDs that outspot you and then their teammates start firing with all those secondaries, it can be tough. But this is a fun build to play, if you can live. Split does have the smoke, right? It's not just like the French DDs or other gunboat DDs where you don't even have a smoke. No heal, though, here. But you do have a smoke, which is nice. We don't have the French saturation gimmick. Mentioned that more in the Ketsonis video if you're interested. But no saturation gimmick here does make it a little tricky to survive. But decent amount of HP for a tier 8, let's be honest. And incredible gunpowder. Specifically surrounding the DPM at range. The effective DPM is really high just because it's so easy to use these guns at longer range. And upgrades wise, again, trying to use that engine boost mod. I explained a little more, but when you only have a 10-second radar, it's not very useful with random teammates. Maybe in ranked, if there's a little team play, the extra 2 seconds you would get out of radar mod could be useful. But to keep yourself alive, longer duration engine boost is really, really good in randoms, especially if you don't have a div. If you have a div, maybe running towards more, little longer duration on your radar is valuable enough, but if there's not someone directly team playing with you, I think the engine boost is just better. That extra duration you get is more impactful in your games. That's my opinion on it. But very powerful DDs, very fun. Interesting that they got buffed, I gotta say. Ketsonis makes a little more sense to me because that was a bit of an ugly duckling of the line. Split, though, I always found this one to be pretty good. So now that it's buffed, a really good line to go grind out if you're interested in gunboat DDs and you haven't been through this one yet. Very, very solid line to grind through now. But that's going to do it for today. Again, let me know what you think about that video concept that we had here. Me explaining in more depth decision-making and thought process, what's going on in the battle. I think it's a good one, but I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.